Hello, how's everyone doing? This was an idea originally written for the spooky season, and I'm doing it a bit early. The idea of death in Dragon Ball has become a bit of a joke, with the Dragon Ball's existence being able to undo any permanent damage to the universe and our cast. But what if they weren't able to help? What if death was permanent? While this can be a factor in other what ifs such as my Raditz raised Gohan, or what if Goku was Guardian by Piccolo, or even stories where the Dragon Balls are just non-factors at all, such as Plus's what if Kakarot was sent to Vampa. Now, while I believe the Dragon Balls, or death being permanent in Dragon Ball, is a factor which can happen in many series, I do believe it has the possibility to stand alone as its own entity. So this first part will be a taste of what's to come throughout this whole story. That being said, let us begin. Our story doesn't really begin until the King Piccolo saga, however I would like to take this chance to point out a minor change which happened earlier on. This moment being the moment when our heroes learn that the Dragon Balls are unable to undo death when they try to revive Bora, something which brings great deal of despair to not only Upa but also Goku, feeling like he is responsible for Bora's death. After all, if he was just a bit stronger he could have dealt with Tao Pai Pai. But with neither of them being able to change the past or undo Bora's death, they instead have to keep marching forward. But this changes Upa ever so slightly. Now with his father gone, he wants to step up and defend the tribe his father gave his life for, making a vow to be stronger than even Goku. But with that to rest, we truly begin our story a few months after the events of King Piccolo, with everyone who had died in canon falling, such as Krillin, Chaozu, and Master Roshi. But we join our story not with Goku, who is currently training under the God of Earth's assistant. We join Tien. He sits at the base of a waterfall, letting the water crash onto his body in a meditative pose. He's looking for peace, but right now, the former assassin's mind is far from peaceful, as he is forced to relive the loss of both Roshi and Chaozu over and over again in his own mind. Tien's ki erupts, disrupting the waterfall's flow for a moment, allowing him to pull away from the tiring crashing of the wave. He's annoyed that his progress has grinded to a halt. Looking at his hands, he feels as if he has not improved since the day he lost both Chaozu and Roshi, and he feels more alone than he's ever felt before, as for the first time since he was a new recruit at the Crane School, he is out without a mentor, out a goal, or without a friend. Shouldering the grief he feels, he doesn't know how to move forward from here, his mind even wondering if he would return home to the Crane School in hopes to find guidance. But doing so would make everything Master Roshi had done to help him come so far pointless. So he buries these thoughts. Instead, he tries to brute force his way forward, not knowing what his next steps are. And now we finally join Goku, who is up on the lookout in a state much like Tien, struggling to overcome himself in a physical and metaphorical sense, as the grief of Krillin and Roshi's death weigh on him heavily, while physically he faces a mirror match battle against himself due to Popo's training dummy, making his progress painfully slow and nearly non-existent, with Goku's mind being consumed by the thoughts of Krillin's death being due to his own incompetence, kicking himself for not just grabbing his grandpa's Dragon Ball, the turmoil in Goku's heart having not gone unnoticed by Kami or Popo. However, the God of Earth is truthfully unsure of how to aid his newest student, due to having no experience with the feelings of grief the boy is going through. He does recognise one emotion Goku is going through and can reconcile with this burden he is feeling, as he can tell that Goku is holding the feeling of being Earth's only defender on his shoulders, thanks to all of his fellow Turtle School members but one being gone. This is a feeling Kami can relate to and understands, having been Earth's sole guardian for centuries, so he wants to help the boy, not only because he is the strongest available warrior he has, but also to make sure that this kid does not fall into the same depression he had many centuries ago. So, he begins searching for answers, spending his time studying Earth's many therapists and even using some of the books as references on how to deal with grief, with him coming to a resounding conclusion that humans seem to heal better when surrounded by their own, and people who have or are currently experiencing similar grief. And having already been keeping an eye on Earth's second strongest warrior, Kami already knows he will be the best choice to help who he might hopes be his replacements. So in the dead of the night while Goku rests, Kami, now having a plan, leaves the lookout using Popo's magic carpet, appearing on part of the earth where the sun begins to rise, as Kami finds the ruins of what once looked to be a peaceful waterfall. The sounds of low weak grunting come from a nearby area, as Kami follows the noises to find Tien, looking like he had not slept or eaten in days. Kami now realizes that Tien could be in a worse position than Goku, as the God of Earth knows Tien needs saving just as much as the other boy. He calls out for the Triclops, not realizing the problems his presence would cause, as the sleep-deprived Tien turns around on the spot to see the killer of his best friend. On a dime, Tien pushes his exhausted body forward at its current top speed with a battle cry of "You bastard!" Kami calls out to the fighter, trying to calm him, but soon he finds that Tien is in striking distance. However, in his current state, the only threat Tien presents is a headache, with his shouts of despair and rage. Clearly, Kami's presence distresses the boy, and Kami tries his best to calm the fighter, but the words fall on deaf ears, as Kami has to block and dodge weak punches and kicks. After a short combo of blows, Tien is gasping for breath. Clearly this small rush having taken a lot out of the fighter, who is not in physical fighting shape. Kami tries to use this chance to speak, but as he does so, Tien blindsides Kami with a powerful haymaker, knocking the God of Earth all but on his arse, as Tien now using this chance to gather energy into the palm of his hands with a declaration of "I'll kill you for everyone you hurt," as his body cloaked in a bright white aura as he's charging up a tri-beam, ready to rid the world of the scum which is the Demon Lord. Kami finally realizing that words will not work, instead takes action, using his ability to teleport to appear behind Tien and placing all of the ki he can into his hand to chop down on the three-eyed fighter's neck, causing his body to go numb as Tien passes out. Kami stands over the unconscious frame of the former Crane student, and having come here to find someone who needed help for Goku, only to find someone who needs more help than even Goku does. And worst of all, it's all Kami's fault. If he had just stayed in fighting shape, he could have stopped his other half, or if he could have stopped being a coward and took himself out, he could have dealt with the Demon King the moment he arrived. But he didn't. With Tien clearly needing help, Kami can only hope that, in Goku, Tien can find a fellow hurt soul, and together they can help heal one another. Whether through training or through talk, all he cares about is righting the wrongs his other half had brought to this world, starting with these two boys. So grabbing the Triclops by the collar, he teleports himself and Tien to the lookout. Hours later, Tien wakes up in a bed, feeling well rested for the first time in months. However, while his body feels rested, his mind does not, having been plagued by nightmares of the Demon King, and truly thought he had died when fighting him recently. The uncertainty of what happened to him is only just weaving into his mind, wondering if this is the afterlife, and if so, will it be here he reunites with Chaozu. As the moment of peace sets in about his possible death, the sound of a door squeaking open grabs his attention, as a short, plump humanoid enters his room. The genie introduces himself as Mr. Popo, attendant of Kami, the Guardian of Earth, asking for Tien to follow him. The Triclops is unsure what to think, say, or do, only able to mutter out asking if he's dead. The Intendant of Earth doesn't waste a second, simply responding he is not, but gesturing for the Crane student to follow him. Tien is hesitant, but does so, following the genie through a never-ending hallway of this never-ending building. The Triclops uses this time to try and figure out where he is, and why he's here, with Mr. Popo more than happy to answer some of these questions, telling Tien that he is on the lookout of this world's Kami, and he is here to help defeat the spawn of the Demon King. Tien hearing this almost freezes in fear and anger, learning another demon is running amok out there. The Martial Artist can't help but scream, asking when did the demon show up. Popo rather calmly responds with the answer of the day the Demon King was defeated, he sent off one last spawn, in hopes to keep himself alive. Tien is silent for a second, before shouting out asking why they have waited until now to start preparing. Popo once again keeps his calm demeanour, telling Tien he is not the one who will defeat the Demon King's spawn. He is here to help him. Confused, Tien wants to ask more questions, but Popo once more gestures for Tien to follow him, with Mr. Popo's body speaking the words he does not speak, telling Tien to follow him and learn. Tien, being more intrigued, follows alongside with a slight bit less hesitation. As they finally make it to the top of a flight of stairs, Tien is greeted to a bright blue sky and not a cloud in sight. However, even in this vast sea of blue sky, the one thing that stands out is the orange-wearing boy in the distance. It's Goku, sat in a meditative position. His mind clearly restless as he fidgets and pulls faces with every passing second. it seems like he's struggling more and more to keep his concentration. Tien watches for a few seconds before asking what Goku is doing, and Mr. Popo tells him that the young fighter here has been training for the last few months to be ready to defeat the Demon King's spawn. Tien looks on, watching in silence, but as Tien's third eyes begin to wander, he can't help but feel the presence of another. Turning his head, he finally locks eyes with the very demon he thought he had killed. Once more, Tien's body moves on instinct, tensing up to begin his assault, but before Tien can get in striking distance of the demon, the sound of Goku confidently telling Tien to wait causes some pause as he turns to see Goku reaching out to stop him. Having sensed Tien's ki a few seconds ago, he now tells him to stop with a confident stare. The pair lock eyes for a second, and with no words spoken, the pair share an understanding. They are both grieving, and both feel so much regret. But this causes more confusion for Tien, as he asks why Goku is defending the Demon King. But it is here that Kami can finally introduce himself as Piccolo, or at least his other half. It's here that he shares the story of how he and the Demon King became two beings, one of pure evil set on world domination, and one of pure good who took the role of this planet's guardian. Tien, hearing this, cannot help but stare down Kami for a few seconds. It's clear he doesn't trust the deity. He's not sure if he speaks of lies, but seeing Goku's trust in the god brings some calm to him. However, now with new questions plaguing his mind, he can't help but wonder why he is here. Something Goku seconds. Now Kami would normally only speak the truth. A lie could taint his very soul and his relationship with these two warriors. However, in this case, he believes it the best course of action will be to sugarcoat the truth, sharing how Goku's growth has been good. However, Kami fears that the spawn of the Demon King might grow stronger, too strong for Goku to handle at the current rate he is growing. So he wanted to bring in someone who not only tried to take down the former Demon King, but currently is the second strongest mortal on this planet, which would be a beneficial training partner for Goku to help bolster his training. The pair look at each other and can't help but let a slight grin grow on their face at the idea of having a training partner. But both their minds jump back to the memories of their past training partners, and they lose their smirks. Instead, Tien asks when his training begins, at the thought of Chaozu, and wanting to avenge him. Popo tells Tien that he will begin training immediately, and he'll be doing what Goku has been doing for the last few months, overcoming himself, revealing a dummy which looks exactly like Tien. Goku giggles at the dummy before his own dummy is revealed once again, and his face soon turns serious. Knowing that his training is about to begin, the boys begin facing off against their dummies. But this training does not just push them physically, it pushes them mentally. With each blow blocked, dodged, countered, the boys have shown their flaws, and in their fighting style, they learn where they are weak. Normally, this would help show people how to improve and overcome their flaws. Right now, in their current mindsets, all it's doing is showing them how they failed as martial artists and as friends. With each sloppy punch blocked could have been a life saved. Every blow they counter should have been a finishing blow. As Tien and Goku both lose to their dummies being knocked onto their asses, Mr. Popo gives Kami a look, telling him he does not believe they are ready. However, Kami holds out hope. As a day of Goku and Tien facing off against their dummies fly by, soon it is dusk, and Goku and Tien are sweating. It's running down their body, and they have nothing left to give. Kami seeing that little to no progress has been made, as the dummies stand over their real counterparts before being called back to Popo, while giving an awfully concerned look over to Kami, worried that he had the wrong idea. Kami continues to hold out hope, however, as Goku and Tien walk into their shared quarters where a silence lingers. The boys do not exchange words, pleasantries, or even a good night. Both boys just lay staring at the ceiling, unaware that the other is still awake, having both become strangers to sleep. A week with no progress passes, and each day starts and ends the same. Goku and Tien unable to make any progress on their training goals. Even the small bits of meditation training Popo makes both boys do isn't very useful, as both their minds are far too clouded right now. As Kami's hope diminishes more and more each day, something that neither Goku nor Tien can help notice, leaving today's training feeling more defeated than ever before. And it is on this day that Popo finally speaks up, telling his master that the boys are more than strong enough to win, but they are holding themselves back by dwelling on the past, suggesting to Kami to allow the boys to continue without completing this step of their training. However, Kami reminds Popo that unless they can defeat their own demons, they will never be able to defend the planet from the real one that's walking it. As both boys lay looking at the ceiling, they can't help but think back on what happened. Tien has been here a week and he feels like he's already making no progress. You can see the same with Goku, and while having this thought build up inside of him, his anger becomes too much, slamming his fists into the wall beside him, sending cracks to climb the wall, reaching to the roof, and shaking the lookout ever so slightly. Goku, understanding this feeling, finally breaks the silence the boys have been having, asking Tien if he's been able to sleep, with the Triclops responding no. Goku can't help but laugh a little, saying it's been the same for him. Since Krillin had died, and then Master Roshi, he feels useless. He made mistakes. He was an idiot. If he had just remembered his grandpa's Dragon Ball, Krillin would have been alive. He would have never gone off on an attack to try and stop Tambourine, and then he could have worked alongside Roshi and Krillin and Tien to take down the Demon King. But instead he was an idiot, and a stupid one at that. Tien, hearing this, cannot help but smile, not because he's amused at Goku's grief. The opposite. He feels a connection. He doesn't feel alone for the first time in months. Speaking up, he tells Goku that he isn't the only one who made mistakes, reminding Goku that he was stupid enough to try and challenge the Demon King, which almost cost Goku the fight, being used as a hostage to almost cause Goku the entire battle. If he had just been a bit stronger, he might have been able to save Chaozu, hold the front line against the Demon King to buy Roshi time for the Mifuma, or even just being strong enough to stand alongside Goku and defeat the Demon King. At least that way he could have avenged Chaozu. Goku too can't help but smile at this. The pair look at each other with a soft look, Tien and Goku feeling a kinship with one another, happy to know that they aren't the only ones shouldering the grief of everything which went down alone. But this is when a light bulb goes off in Goku's head. He turns to Tien. With a smile on his face plastered, he tells Tien he knows how to beat those dummies. As he tells Tien his plan, Tien's eyes widen, wondering if that would even be allowed. As the next day comes round, the words of Popo still linger in the mind of Kami, wondering if he should just allow the boys to pass this trial, as it would be more beneficial for them to do some training in possibly the hyperbolic time chamber, or just sparring against one another, or if just allowing them to conquer their own demons would be enough for them. However, when both boys emerge from their quarters, they have made their decision for Kami. They have a different look in their eyes, catching both Popo and Kami off guard, and when they both call for their training to begin, Popo is slightly shocked, but brings forth the dummies. As both boys take their fighting stance, they are mimicked by their dummies. A few seconds pass before clashing with their clones. However, unlike before, the boys don't spread across the arena. They fight close to one another, fighting well within 5 feet of one another, using the small area they seem to have mentally mapped out as a battleground. As the battle goes on for a few minutes, both pairs break away from an intense clash. Both Goku and Tien are feeling the fatigue. Still struggling to sleep has caused them to run out of energy much faster, and the intensity in which they must fight is causing them to tire fast. But with some distance now made between themselves and their dummies, both Tien and Goku find themselves back to back. A second of steadiness rests atop of the lookout, before both dummies jolt forward, going to finish this round of training. However, this is when Goku calls for a rather rapid switch, shocking both Kami and Popo, as Goku and Tien use each other as a pivot to turn and swap opponents. As both boys now wear a confident grin, as they hold an advantage the dummies don't. They fought one another in the past. Goku, knowing Tien's reach is much further than his own, puts all of his strength into closing the distance between himself and the dummy, narrowly avoiding a jab from the Triclops clone, and now getting onto the inside of Tien's guard, where the monkey-tailed boy unleashes a barrage of body blows which damn near cut through the clone, before finishing off the flurry of blows by jumping up and kneeing the clone in the chin, sending it skybound. As for Tien, he uses his reach on Goku to axle kick the dummy before ever gets in striking distance, slamming him into the ground of the lookout, before then grabbing the Turtle School clone by his hair and throwing him up into the sky before activating his Four Witches technique. As Goku and Tien find themselves back to back once more, they both fire off the signature attack of their schools. A cry of Kamehameha and for Ray Dodonpao is echoes throughout the lookout. As the clones are reduced to nothing but dust, both boys turn to look at each other, gasping for breath before sharing a fist bump. Looking at a shocked Kami and Popo, who try to figure out if they have passed this trial, Goku, as if reading their mind, shouts out telling Kami that he brought Tien up here to help him get stronger. But what he didn't consider is that they lost people they cared about because they didn't work together. From now on, they will work together to ensure that no demon, no monster, or no reincarnation can ever harm their friends or family again. Popo is unsure what to say to this, while Kami just smiles. While having not fully overcome their past, they have found a friend to help pull them through their future struggles. And that's where I'm going to leave this part for now. How does everyone feel about this story? This is a story I genuinely want to tell, and I have a fun idea for. As you can tell, Goku isn't truly the main character in this, and I want to have some fun exploring this story, as well, not only, is it an interesting idea, I think I just have a generally decent mapped out plan for it. I'll see how it does before I continue it any further, but this is just to give you a taste of what the series would look like. That all being said, I'm happy I'm coming back to doing YouTube a bit more with a bit of a swing behind myself. I know I was gone for a while, and for those who are still listening, I do apologise. I just got caught up in life and a lot of changes happened at once that it's nothing really needing to get into, just a lot of change around my life, which meant it was quite unstable for me to sit down and actually do this properly. So instead of half-arsing videos, I wanted to wait and do some things in the background until I was eventually at a stable point I could continue doing videos again. That all being said, let me know in the comments if you want to see this story continued. I don't have a like goal for this, or a view goal. I'm just going to kind of generally get the vibe, and I'm going to do another story which I think people might be interested in, to kind of gauge which one they would rather see. This all being said, however, I hope everyone had a great day or a good night, and please let me know if you enjoyed the video. Bye for now, guys.